of television writers. That's what we have to learn. I can understand Colin Dexter, and Moss is fairly iconic, but I would like to think that 20 years down the line someone might take that and go, what a genius series of books, can we do something incredible with it? And to limit it seems a real shame.
Do you think, like Montpellier, therefore it means that it's going to die, that will be it? It's finite, because future generations won't be watching or reading?
Well, I think it's iconic for a few years, but in the end what does happen is that it looks sort of old-fashioned and people watch it less, and that's a great shame because it is an extraordinary performance. So for me, I would leave the door open. It seems to me to be, I had a play recently, a private piece with a wonderful actor called Paul Checker, so he was the first. So Paul Checker was private peaceful on the stage, and when I saw him I never wanted it to be anyone different. But other people have come and done it differently and shown a new light in it, and those new lights are very important in character.
What control do authors have over characters? I mean, I'm not sure if you've had experience of this, Lisa Holdsworth. When you're casting somebody, do they have, and perhaps it's down to the author as to what control they want?
For myself, it's what I would always like. I don't want more money, I want more control about getting what's in my head up on the screen. So certainly as I've gone on in my career, I've tried to develop strategies for getting what I want up on the screen, and sometimes it gets wrong. I've written characters that have ended up on screen and I've thought, no, that's not what I meant at all, you've got it completely wrong. And sometimes I've thought that in the first few seconds of an actor's performance and then seen something wonderful and gone, okay, you've made it better.
You must have so much experience in this, Michael, given that a number of your books have been made into films as well as plays.
Yes, but every writer, I mean, that's certainly true, and you take a view on each one and you think, well, this could have been better, that could be better, but the truth is, when you write a book and you put it out there, everyone who reads it is going to make of it what their own imagination brings to it. You can't control that, and indeed you shouldn't. I think, to me, once that book is written and it's out there, then it's up to the readers to make it live. And if it's going to be television or film producers or play producers, that's fine.
So you don't ask for control when there's a film or play being made?
Well, you have to make the judgment. Is this company a company I want to work with? So, for instance, with Warhorse, that was the National Theatre, where they did plays pretty well, I thought.
And they did Joey, they did the Warhorse pretty well.
They did all right, and you make mistakes, of course you do. But it seems to me to be, it is good to let it fly, to let other people come in and shine their light, that's for sure. For me, anyway.
And I suppose, Lisa Holdsworth, anything you've written, you'd like to know that somebody else is going to revisit it?
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing I've written that I wouldn't like to think someone comes back and thinks I can do better than that. I want to see better writing on television, on stage, in my book, so go at it.
Okay, and the idea, we've had both Colin Dexter and P.D. James talking there about not wanting anybody to... Does that make you put you off? If anybody ever approached you and said, oh, we want to do something with Adam Dalgleish, or we want to defy the wishes of Colin Dexter?
I would approach it with great respect, and I would hope I'd do that with any other writer's work.
But you still do it?
Oh, yeah.
Lisa Holdsworth and Michael Montpellier, thank you very much.
It's 27 minutes past 8, and here's Jonathan with the sport.
Morning again. Lewis Hamilton and his Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg dominated practice this morning for Sunday's Malaysian Grand Prix. England's first century in T20 competition happened to an outstanding win over Sri Lanka. Alex Hale's innings of 116 without including 6 sixes earned the victory by 6 wickets. England plays South Africa next tomorrow. The former world tennis #1 Mats Wilander has told us that Andy Murray doesn't need a former Grand Slam champion as his next coach to replace Ivan Lendl. Wilander suggested having short-term help to help technically. Now, as Ryan Giggs and 4 other illustrious Manchester United players buy non-league club Salford City, are the 2008 Cup winners Portsmouth about to drop into non-league football themselves? Portsmouth, owned by the Pompey Supporters Trust, sacked their manager yesterday as they sit 1 place above the relegation places in League 2. Ashley Brown is chairman of the Pompey Supporters Trust. Good morning. What are you going to do to arrest this slide? Because it's shocking, you're in the Premier League, you're in the Europa League, and now you could be in non-league football.
Well, I think yesterday was actually that's what we did to slide. Unfortunately, Richie just wasn't feeling that Portsmouth. I'm sure did go on to go somewhere else. But we need to get some unity behind the fans of the team. We believe bringing in Andy, who is the likely songwriter in Portsmouth, to be in the relegation battle for he knows where it's playing. We believe he can take it down the track.
This is Andy Alford, the former Portsmouth defender. Also on the line is Dr. David Trahan, the Trust Chairman and owner of Exeter City, another Trust-owned club. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, you've been relegated and you've retired. So what advice could you offer as a supporter-owned club, just like Portsmouth are now, for Ashley and his team?
Well, it's not good news for longevity as far as electricity is concerned. That and also twisting the model that Sports Direct give to actually suit the club that is running it. Because all the Supporters Direct, all the supporters clubs that are owned by trust or run by trust are very, very different. You know, be they Portsmouth, be they AMC Wimbledon, be they Chester City, be they Wrexham or wherever. They have to get the model to suit their own circumstances.
So how damaging is relegation? Does it actually purge the club of all the problems which were there causing this issue?
Well, it purges some of the problems. I suppose it's the great unknown. You suddenly discover that you are in fact going to places that you probably never heard of. And of course the funding from the FA is lost. And the funding within the school conference, or whatever it's going to be called next year, is considerably less than it was. I suppose it depends on the circumstances of the club. But in fact, Exeter City manager put a team out against Halifax in the first match in the conference. It was a miracle. Down to longevity, I said, because we've had three excellent managers. The most recent of whom is through thick and thin has been with us for 7 years. The other thing that we've done is that there is a very vibrant youth scheme which is starting to produce players. 4 of the players in the side that's currently playing and will be playing against Accrington tomorrow are in fact home produced, and this seems the way forward.
So there you are, Ashley Brown. All we can say is the best of luck as chairman of Public Supporters Trust. In a word, are you confident you can beat the job?
Yep.
I like it. We're going to hold you to that. The best of luck. David Trahan and Ashley Brown, thank you both very much indeed. There are 2 more winners. Let's have confidence here. Newcastle, 240, number 6. Sam Be Lucky, Lingfield, 3 o'clock, number 4. The best doctor, made me one.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. And now then, let's hear from Kirsty Young. Tell us about this morning's Desert Islanders. My castaway this week is Dame Claire Birchingham. In 1984, she was the nurse working at the feeding station in Michael Burke's harrowing TV reports about the Ethiopian famine that would inspire the creation of Live Aid.
We decided between us that I would go up and down the lines and look at every child and then just put a little mark on them if I chose them. I chose the ones which sort of have a spark of life in their eyes, and that was the most horrendous thing, is knowing the ones you didn't choose wouldn't survive.
Dame Claire Birchingham, my castaway. I do hope you can join us for Desert Island Discs this morning at 9.
And the weather, raining across central areas of the country with heavy showers in the southwest of England.
You are listening to Today on Radio 4 with John Humphreys and Sarah Montague. It's now 28 minutes to 9. Let's have a summary of the news from Chris Aldridge.
Officials coordinating the hunt for the missing Malaysia Airlines passenger plane have identified a new search area almost 700 miles northeast of the previous location in the southern Indian Ocean. The shift is based on the analysis of radar information suggesting the plane was travelling faster than previously thought and would have run out of fuel sooner. A BBC investigation suggests that the government's controversial changes to housing benefit have failed to free up many under-occupied homes, one of the main aims of the policy. Figures obtained by BBC News suggest just 6% of social tenants have moved properties. Germany's finance minister has said the EU must ensure non-Eurozone countries, including the UK, are legally protected in the event of further European integration. Writing in the Financial Times, Wolfgang Schäuble and the Chancellor George Osborne said any changes to EU treaties must guarantee fairness. An investigation is to be launched into 30 million financial policies, such as pensions and endowments. The Financial Conduct Authority wants to ensure that customers are still getting a good deal from products bought from the 1970s until the year 2000.
It's 27 minutes to 9. We have been talking for days about debris found in the Indian Ocean, and the assumption has, not surprisingly, been that that is where the missing Malaysian passenger plane crashed. But the latest information from Australia, which has been coordinating the search, suggests we are no closer to finding the plane. They've moved the hunt for debris to a new part of the Indian Ocean, and they're now concentrating on an area about 700 miles further north of their original zone, following what they called a new credible lead. It's because of what they called refined analysis of existing data, and it suggests the plane was travelling faster than originally thought and so would have run out of fuel more quickly. Well, while the search continues, the families of those on board are starting to think about legal action, as Alistair Leithhead reports from Malaysia.
Here in Kuala Lumpur, and indeed around the world, the mystery still remains. What caused flight MH370 to crash into the sea thousands of miles off course deep in the southern Indian Ocean? There's been much speculation and attention to the pilot, Sahari Ahmed Shah, that he deliberately crashed the plane, or it was the co-pilot, or someone on board taking them hostage, or a technical problem. Until the black box is found, we won't know. As the families of those on board begin the grieving process, they're also turning to lawyers in a search for responsibility and eventually compensation. It's easy to blame the dead, perhaps easier for an airline or aircraft manufacturer than it is to blame the plane. But friends of Captain Zahiri, like Peter Chong, continue to defend his good character.
I still maintain that he wouldn't be somebody that we speculate him to be. He would be the one that would be saving the passengers and the crew before he even thinks about his own safety in the event of an incident. If I'm on a plane and I'm allowed to choose a pilot, I would still today choose Captain Zahari as the pilot of my plane.
Why?
Because I have full confidence in him as a professional pilot, over 30 years experience, 18,000 flying hours, and a person who has come across to me in our activities together that cares for people, that loves children. So no way it can be him.
Leaks from investigators are inconclusive, and questions at the press conferences still go unanswered. Is there any strong indication that a pilot or somebody on board the plane was responsible for its loss, as opposed to this being a mechanical issue or something else that's non-human?
We are not discounting that fact, but other leads that show, which relates to no ransom note, no groups claiming to be responsible, leads to further speculation. And whilst these investigations are going on, we cannot reveal everything. And if I answer that question, I will also be speculating.
The last big Malaysia Airlines plane crash was 1977. It was caused by a hijack that went wrong. Abdulaziz bin Abdul Rahman was involved in the investigation. He's a former CEO of the airline, and as a lawyer, he has advice for the families.
My advice is try and avoid going to the courts. Try and settle out of court.
You met the pilot. There's been a lot of suggestion that it was his fault.
I don't think the pilots are responsible, because the captain is an experienced man. He is also a good man, as far as I know. He's a good Muslim. And the co-pilot is also, the young man, he's also a good boy. There's no reason why they should go around and do something extraordinary.
He doubts technical faults, as there was no distress signal, and blames hijacking. The families will automatically receive about £100,000 in compensation. Lawyers are circling, urging people to sue. The cause of the plane's loss has a bearing on who can be sued.
Well, from the families that I've spoken to so far, it's not about the money, but it's more about finding who's responsible for it, because they don't have an answer till now.
Shalinder Bar is a senior associate at the law firm Bridgenandan Singh Bar & Company in Kuala Lumpur. When we arrived, he was meeting the ex-wife of one of the passengers who was thinking of suing for compensation for their young children.
The families can still, at this moment in time, without even the plane being found or the wreckage being found, bring a claim against the respective parties. There are multiple options here against the parties they can bring an action against. The first one, and the most natural one, would be the airline itself, Malaysian Airlines in this case. Following that, I would have thought that you would be able to bring an action against a maintenance company, the government of Malaysia, the Department of Civil Aviation, probably subject to further information, the military.
A class action lawsuit has also been filed in the US. It's an American-built plane. But court cases could drag on for years, and responsibility will only become clear once the plane is found and the mystery solved, if that ever happens.
Alistair Leithhead reporting there. Well, we're joined on the line from Beijing by Sarah Bajak, whose partner, Philip Wood, was on board the plane. Hello to you.
Hello there. there.
Can I ask what your reaction is to this latest news that they are changing the area where they are searching for this plane?
Well, actually, I only learned about it by listening to the aspect of this show before we started talking, because I've stopped listening to the news. It's too heartbreaking. There's so many false leads, and then they change their mind, and then they do something else. It's proven to be better for my sanity to just wait for my contacts in the media to inform me if there's something real.
Okay, I mean, and what's clear from this is that we don't know what is real. We don't appear to be any further on. I wonder what you take from that, because all along you've been saying that actually with so little information it still leads you to hope that there's a chance that Philip is alive.
Well, we don't really know anything other than the flight is missing. I mean, even the data, quote unquote, that we've received related to radar or related to the pinging of engines, we don't actually know for a fact that it's accurate either, or that it's been interpreted properly. Partly because the data was managed and under the control of an entity that has not proven to be reliable over the last 3 weeks. So how do we know that that's actually the right data, or that it wasn't manipulated in some way in advance, right? So we don't know anything at all. We can only guess at things. We can look at potential evidence, but every single solitary piece is only circumstantial. We don't have a concrete piece of evidence at all.
And you are sceptical of everything that you hear, and from the sounds of it also a bit suspicious.
Yeah, there's definitely some intentional misdirection here. There can't help but be. I trust that my own government and the government of a country like Malaysia, which is really one of the more put together countries in Southeast Asia. It's quite a delightful place, actually. I think they're smarter than this. So if this is how they're behaving, there has to be some intention to it. They're covering something up, and I'm sure that we will find out in the future. But you know, I don't think that we're spending our resources wisely pointing fingers and yelling and having fights and taking people to court. In fact, I'm quite shocked and disappointed that that is the approach so many families are taking, and I think the lawyers should go home and wait for there to be at least some sort of conclusion.
Have any lawyers approached you?
Yes, of course, and most of them I just ignore or hang up on. One or two that I recognize as being reputable firms, I took their contact information and shared it with Philip's family, but that's it. I'm not interested in talking to any of them right now. I want to find the airplane, and I want to find out what happened to it, and I want to find Philip. And, you know, I absolutely still think it's a potential they're alive, because there's no evidence to the contrary.
And with every change in direction of this hunt, do you fear that some of the urgency in the hunt is being lost?
Oh, for sure. The urgency is already changing. It's changing in public